Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is James if you're new here, and on this channel I like to talk about all things branding and marketing. Sometimes we just talk a little bit about general freelance agency business stuff. Today we're going to be talking about branding, my favorite topic, and we're going to talk specifically about some mistakes that people make when working on their brand. We're going to talk about 5 different branding mistakes. We talk a lot about the do's of branding. Today, we're going to talk about some of the don'ts. So, as usual, if you end up liking this video, please consider giving it a like and a subscribe. If you don't like this video, as always, I'd love to hear why. Please feel free to leave a comment and let me know what I could have done better to make this video more informational, entertaining, what have you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so like I said, today we're going to be talking about some mistakes, 5 different mistakes that people make, business owners, freelancers, whatever. 5 mistakes that they make with regards to their brand or their branding efforts. If you don't know, I don't really prepare a lot for these videos because I don't want it to look like I'm just sitting there reading off, a script that I wrote beforehand. So I basically just have kind of an outline and I just sort of wing it from there. So, like I said, 5 different mistakes. The first thing we're going to talk about is the first mistake that you can make regarding your branding is to just not do it or to take too long to start doing it. I've actually heard some interesting advice on LinkedIn. One guy, I forget who it was, he said that you shouldn't even bother with your branding until you've been in business at least 5 years. And then I think he put a dollar amount and he said, or you're making, I don't know, some crazy $1 million a year or something in revenue. And I didn't understand that. And I think I kind of understand where he's coming from. Because I think when he talks about branding, what he's imagining is, dropping $15,000, $20,000 on a brand strategist who comes in and just strategizes. Doesn't even give you any deliverables, no logos or websites or anything, just strategy, which is a good idea depending on where you are in your business. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that for sure, but I think that's kind of what he was talking about. And if that's true, then I would agree. Day one, you just started a business, you probably don't have 20 grand to drop on a brand strategist to come in and help you craft your brand. But if you wait 5 years before you even start trying to craft and build your brand, you wait 5 years before you even think about your brand. That's a mistake. That's gonna bite you in the butt. Because what's going to happen? The thing that a lot of people don't understand is that you have a brand, whether you think you do or not. Okay, so you have a brand whether you intentionally build it or craft it or influence it. And so if you don't intentionally craft it, what you're going to find is that after 5 years, when you sit down and go, okay, it's time to start working on my brand, you're going to realize, oh crap, I already have one and it's not great, or it's not what I was envisioning. And so, the thing about branding is that it's kind of a buzzword these days. A lot of people are talking about it, and depending on what you read and what you watch, sometimes you get the idea that branding is sort of this just whole big separate monster that you need to, just devote a lot of time in. And that's not really the case. Branding it's hard to explain. Marty Neumeier defines brand as a person's gut feeling about your business. And I think that's a really good definition. And we think about that. Okay, so if my brand is a gut feeling, it's something people feel inside when they see my logo or see my product or, hear someone talking about my business, They get a feeling inside when that happens. If that's my brand, then branding, the verb, is, the act of influencing that feeling, trying to make them feel the way you want them to feel, which is impossible to, to make sure that everybody feels exactly the same way. Just think about Apple. You mention Apple products, and some people feel one way and other people feel a different way. Apple would love it if everybody felt the same way. They would love it if every single person just got an amazing, warm, fuzzy feeling inside every time they think about an Apple product, but that's not the case. And that's okay. And it's better to understand that that's okay rather than trying to fight it. But where was I going with that? um, the problem with waiting 5 years to craft your brand is that you're going to find out that you have a brand you don't like, and then you're going to have to rebrand. And it might not be a full-blown obvious rebrand, but it's going to be work. You're going to be basically undoing 5 years of bad branding before you can start, to do some good branding. And so, um, if branding is the act of influencing that feeling that people get, that's something that you should basically always be doing. Everything you do within your business, every decision you make, you should be thinking about your brand. And that's kind of really all branding is. And I hate to simplify it that much, but there is something to be said for having some actual strategy, and especially bringing in like a professional. There is definitely value to that for sure, 100%. Um, but you are ultimately responsible for your brand, not me, not some person you hire, not some consultant that you bring in to help you craft your brand. Ultimately, you're responsible as the business owner for your brand. And it's something that you should be thinking about from day one and working at all the time. It's not something that you get heads down and you just knock it out and you do it and then you're done. No, it's something that you're always at least thinking about. All the time when you're choosing a new supplier, you're hiring people, you got to bring on a new partner, whatever, you're building a website, you're getting a new logo. All these decisions, you should always be thinking about your brand. Don't wait 5 years to start considering how people are going to feel about your product, service, or company. So that's number one. Not doing it at all, or just taking too long to start working on your brand, is the first mistake people make. The second mistake is targeting the wrong audience. Now, sometimes this is, I don't want to say intentional, but sometimes this is, you just made a mistake. You thought, this certain kind of person was your target audience. Turns out they're not. A lot of times, this actually comes from the first mistake I talked about, where you weren't really thinking about it. You weren't even thinking about who's my target audience. And then maybe you hired a marketing company. They've been handling your marketing for the past couple of years, and you're just like, man, I really feel like we should be growing faster than this. I think our sales should be higher than this. What's going on? And you're looking at your marketing and you're like, man, I'm putting this much money into my marketing, and I really feel like I should be getting more return on that investment. What's going on? Could be that you're just targeting the wrong audience. And that's something to keep in mind when you're hiring a marketing company, is you need to make sure that they're the kind of people who are insightful, and they can look at you and they can talk to you, they can get to know you, and they can get to know your business and your brand, and they can accurately communicate that brand. That's what you're really looking for if you're going to hire, either whether you're hiring just outside contractors to do your marketing, or you're hiring, marketing personnel, actual employees for your business. Either way, you got to make sure that they have that skill, the ability to, to communicate your brand, not put their voice and their spin on your brand. They need to become one with your brand and be able to communicate it to the right people. Because I don't know if you guys can hear the child screaming in the distance. We have some young children in the neighborhood. They're cute, but they can be loud. What was I talking about? Targeting the wrong audience. Yeah, if you target the wrong audience, you're just not going to get the conversion that you're looking for. You're going to spend X dollars in marketing, and you're going to maybe get a little bit of return. If you're targeting the right audience, you can get a much higher return. You can get more conversions for the same marketing dollars, right? And that's what you want. You want to be efficient. You want to save money. You got to spend money to make money, but that doesn't mean that you have to spend a lot of money and make a little money. It is possible to spend a little money and make a lot of money if you do it right. You target the right people with the right message. So that's number 2, targeting the wrong audience. Number 3, this is a big one for me, is not being authentic. This might ruffle some feathers a little bit, but I don't like Black History Month, and it has nothing to do with Black history. What drives me crazy about Black History Month is all the businesses who've never once said anything all year about Black history, but for this one 28-day period of the year, suddenly it's the most important thing that they can talk about. And I don't understand how they don't just see how unauthentic they look. Like they're clearly just virtue signaling. And I think a lot of people pick up on that and they don't like it. If you want to be about something, be about it. Be about it all the time. Don't just be about it 28 days out of a 365-day period. Because people want to trust you. They want to believe that if your business was a person, that they could be friends with it. That sounds weird, but it's the truth. And people don't like fake people. People don't want to be around other people if they're acting fake. It's something that's very common among children, and most adults usually somewhat at least grow out of it. Not all adults grow out of it, but it's just a turnoff. People don't like it. And if your business is doing that, they're not going to like it. You don't ever want someone to look at, a commercial that you made or a post that you put on Facebook and think to themselves, I wonder if they really believe that. If that's the question they're asking, you're doing it wrong. So don't virtue signal. Don't talk about things just because, and this is actually, I'm going to move on to number 4. The number 4 mistake is relying on trends. Don't just jump on bandwagons because something's trendy. Because again, people are going to see that you're just jumping on that bandwagon. And, as soon as everybody else stops caring about it, you're going to stop caring about it. And people are going to see that. They're going to notice it. That's not to say that you should completely ignore all trends, but, you definitely can't rely on trends, which I've seen a lot of people do. And I know a guy who found some success by jumping on trends, but he was doing it. Every trend, he did something new and separate. He wasn't running a business that was just, jumping on trends. He would, there was a trend where people were wearing a dog mask to, I think, Philadelphia Eagles football games. And so he saw that trend pretty early on, and he found a supplier of dog masks, and he made, a few tens of thousands of dollars in like a couple weeks by just setting up a shop online and selling dog masks to people who want to go to Philadelphia. So that was him jumping on a trend, and he made some money, and then he moved on, that's different than you're an established business, and every single time a trend comes on, you jump on it and act like this is the best thing that since sliced bread, and you care very deeply about it. And then once the trend sort of dies down, you forget about it and you move on to the next trend. I think we've all seen businesses that try to do that. It's, first of all, it's just exhausting. And second of all, I don't really think it works. I think people eventually catch on that you're just, a trend jumper, I'm going to call it. So don't do that. Don't rely on trends. Don't ignore them. There can be value in knowing what the trends are, but don't rely on them for success. And the 5th mistake that people make, and we've actually talked about this, so I think this is cheating, but there's only so much content in the world. The 5th mistake is being inconsistent. And I did a whole video on the importance of consistency in your branding. I think that video is mostly focused on visual branding, though. This is important for your overall brand. It should be consistent. Your visual brand, of course, should be consistent. When people go to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, your website, your store, they should see the same graphics, the same colors, the same logo, the same fonts, things like that. But they should also hear the same message. They should get the same vibe. You should be communicating basically the same message everywhere you go. And that doesn't mean that you need to be copying and pasting. Some people do this because they'll use something like Buffer or Hootsuite, they're very useful tools. But what they'll do is they'll write up a post and then they'll click send, and it posts that same exact post on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And, that's probably better than not doing anything. But if you really want to do it right, you need to understand that there are different sorts of people on these different platforms. Some of them are on multiple platforms, but they're looking for different kind of content. If you're just doing the same thing on every single platform, exactly the same thing, and someone who's on Facebook and LinkedIn, they're scrolling, they see your ad, and then they go to LinkedIn and they see the same exact ad, that can be kind of wasteful. It's like they've already seen that. So you're basically double paying. If you're paying for like ads, you paid for them to see that ad on Facebook, and then you paid again for the same person to see the ad on LinkedIn. And not that there's no value there, because sometimes people need to see something multiple times. But if you can pay attention to the subtle nuances and differences between these different platforms and cater your content to them while maintaining a consistent brand and message, but maybe, sharing certain content to LinkedIn that maybe you wouldn't share to Facebook and vice versa, then I think that'll be a lot more effective for you. But what you don't want is to seem kind of like you're two different businesses, and being inconsistent, and you talk one way here, and then in another medium you talk a different way. You just have different vibe, a different voice to your messaging. It'll be harder for people to jump on board with that, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to build loyalty, you're trying to build a tribe, and they say that your vibe attracts your tribe. If you have different vibes, you're going to have a disconnected different vibe or different tribes, and that's not going to work out. You want to be Apple. Everybody should want to be Apple. They have a tribe. It's a very loyal tribe, and it's a tribe that Apple's messaging is very consistent everywhere you look, and you can go to any Apple store, you can watch any Apple commercial, and you get kind of the same feeling. You are feeling what they want you to feel. You're hearing what they want you to hear, and you either vibe with it or you don't. And if you do, you buy the product, and most likely you're kind of in that ecosystem for a very long time. And that's ideal. You want those loyal customers to keep coming back. And to do that, you need to build that tribe. And to do that, you need to have a consistent vibe. And so you're building a tribe on LinkedIn, you're building a tribe on Facebook, you're building a tribe on Instagram. They're all really the same tribe. So that at any point you come out with a new product, and boom, you just know you're going to get sales, because you've been building this tribe. They love your brand. They jive with you, and they're just waiting for your next product. So yeah, it's very hard to accomplish that if you're just being really inconsistent everywhere. So that's the fifth mistake that people make with their branding is being inconsistent. There's a lot of mistakes that people make. Obviously, there's more than just 5. But, can't talk about all things all at once. You got to spread things out a little bit. So what I'd like to know is if any of you have made these mistakes. I'd like to hear that experience. Or if there's another mistake that you made in your branding that you noticed and fixed, I would love to hear those stories as well. So yeah, please feel free to leave some comments. Again, if you have some advice on how I can make these videos better, please don't hesitate to leave comments. I'm not just looking for a bunch of pats on the back. I would love to hear your criticism. If you did happen to like this, I would appreciate a like and subscribe, and maybe even a share. Tell your friends about it. Otherwise, I will bid you adieu, and I'll see you guys in the next video.